My voice is traveling, yes. Yes, the very, very first war story will be guest of honor shows up badly hungover and starts throwing up on computers, but yeah. Ordinarily I'm accustomed to people telling me to stop when I've had too much to drink. You Brits are kind of different that way. It's like, have another, they said. I don't know whose room I woke up in this morning. It was full of brooms and mops. It's a good thing I had my cell phone because the door was locked. It's a paparazzi, dude.
Don't worry.
Hey YouTube, how are you?
Just taking a bit of video.
Where are you taking it?
Gonna probably put it on Facebook afterwards.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Facebook. And all your Facebook friends are going to be, who's that fat Yankee wanker up there? All right, that's good enough. They call me Uncle Kage, I don't know why, but they do. I did have just a wee bit of alcohol last night, so should I at some point politely excuse myself and go running out the door, talk among yourselves, I'll only be a moment, okay? Where's Ed with my water? Is it so hard to find in this city? Has he gone out to the well or what?
It's all just alcohol.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it is homeopathic alcohol.
I have water with me if you wanted to. Well.
Yeah, he looks like a man I can trust, right? Thank you kindly. I'm sure Ed will eventually find some tap somewhere, and really.
He's also got an entire vending machine.
Oh yes. I think I got a pound. We'll put this in there. Thank you very much.
I brought a spare one with me.
Lucozade Sport. This is fancy water.
It's not water.
Win a Fitbit every 90 minutes. How many do I need? Jesus. Raspberry flavor isotonic drink. You guys with your extra U's.
It's tap water. I drunk it the day before and put water in it.
You drunk it and it's back? I'm not. No. You're very kind, thank you, but I'm not into that. All right, war stories. It was 1940, Battle of Britain, and not that sort. No. I actually run a convention similar in size to Sunnycon, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little smaller. I don't know. It's called Anthrocon, and it takes place in Pittsburgh in 2 weeks. You know how Ed looks now? I'm going to look like that in 2 weeks, and it's frightful. You all have no idea what goes on behind the scenes, and that's good. That is how we know we've succeeded. If you go home and say, boy, that convention ran perfectly smoothly and was wonderful, then we did our job. Because they come to us and say, boy, that was the smoothest run convention I ever saw. We say, yeah. Yeah. And it's worse for me because I have a magnificent security crew. It's a group called the Dorsai Irregulars. Any Gordon Dixon fans out there will understand that. Silent room, you're all young, damn it. Anyway, these folk have been doing security at science fiction and fan conventions since the mid-1970s. They know what they're doing. They've got it figured out now. Very, very professional. I count on them. My security chief is, okay, he's about this high. He's about, yay tall in every direction. And he's a cute little round man with a Cajun accent and a twinkle in his eye and a big white Santa Claus beard. I mean, it's Father Christmas just right there. And he just looks like he's going to put on a red hat and hand out toys to children. That's my security chief. That's today. The man had been a United States Army Airborne Ranger, did 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. I like having him around. He goes by Renegade, is his name. I love Rennie. There are stories, many of them, that seem to involve Renegade getting into some sort of dust-up. But again, he's a very, very smooth gentleman, very, very talented, very quiet, soft-spoken. One of my favorites took place in Chicago, of all places. He was working a convention in Chicago. And like this, the hotel was down the road, the con site was here, and he was on his way to the con site when a young local gentleman, a chav, I think you call him? Yes. This young chav fellow jumped out of an alley with a knife and thrust it toward Renegade and said, "I'd like all your money, etc." And Renegade said, "Son, you need to find a new line of work," and started to walk around him. And the young gentleman, made a stabbing motion at him. The next thing he knew, he found himself with his arm like this and his face up against a dumpster, and Renegade whispering in his ear, "I told you, son, you need to find a new line of work." And Renegade removed the knife from his possession, sent him home to Mom, and as was told to me, he got to the con site, went up to the security office, and tossed the knife into the box with the rest. He's got a little collection. But the Dorsai, on one hand, it's great. On the other hand, they annoy the living daylights out of me. Because we'll be sitting down having a drink, yeah. And they'll be talking among themselves, and they'll say, "Hey, remember at Anthrocon in 2012, that meth addict came in totally naked, started urinating on people in the lobby?" And I'm like, "What?" Yeah, oh no, that was 2013. That was what the hell? What do you mean? "Oh yeah, the guy came in all totally strung out, peeing everywhere, and this thing don't work, I'm gonna get rid of it. I need it anyway." And I said to him, "God, you didn't tell me!" And they said, "Would it just upset you?" "Yeah, I'm the chairman!" They said, "We took care of it." But I don't like to admit they're right. Yeah. If they told me at the time, I would. You think Ed is strung out? I mean, wow. I find out about these things. I actually have to go to their parties at other conventions to find out what happened at mine. So I do have that advantage. I think you have. I'm trying to think of what I can tell you that's not, politically awkward or something like that. Because, there's cameras everywhere. There are some things I'm not at liberty to discuss. Unless, you get me drunk, and that's not hard. We'll talk about it. But there are stories that transcend the type of convention, transcend the fandom. Every convention has things go wrong. And I have said that the measure of a convention is not what goes wrong, but how the staff reacts when things go wrong. And to that end, one of the most impressive sets of staff I have ever seen are the ones right here at Sunnycon. Last year was a freaking disaster. It's like, the venue gave away our room. We'll just set up in the car park. What? Oh, we can't get tents? We'll go buy some. No, a hurricane's coming. Okay. We need to weigh these things down. When all the shops were closed, they couldn't buy sandbags. And they looked out at the North Sea and all. That's all I'm going to say, because I don't think that's legal. Or is it? I don't know. In my country, you're not allowed to do that. Steal a beach. But it worked. They made it work. You need to be able to think on your feet. You need to be able to improvise when you're running an event like this, because you're going to have to. One of the worst things that any organizer can deal with is when you're standing around and, I'm an organizer, look how organized I am. And you see the manager of the venue, or a police officer, or someone like that lean in the door and do this. Stomach kind of knocks up. And you go out, and they say, "Could we step into the room?" That's when you come out and you look like Ed. Still has not found any water. The time, he could have gone there and been back by now. That's looking better and better, that used stuff. There have been conventions that have lost their guest of honor. Not mine. Not mine, thankfully. I actually was a guest at a convention in the town of Cincinnati, Ohio. And it's really an interesting sort of place because Cincinnati sits very, very close to the border with the state of Kentucky. So the airport is actually in another state, which makes it sound very, very far away. So Cincinnati is here, and it's the nearest big town. The next big town is Louisville, and that's about 2 hours away. They say Louisville. You know, they don't seem to find that. And typical, when you have a guest, it's traditional, you pay their expenses. You get the hotel room, you get the airfare, bar tab. Well, I showed up at this tiny little airport, not in Cincinnati, but in Kentucky. I boarded. And it's a little airport. I mean, the baggage claim area is very much the size of this room. And I got my bag, and everyone left, and I was standing all by myself, looking around for something that looked like it might be a ride. So I thought, okay, I'm going to call. But they didn't give me a phone number. I don't know who to call. Okay, I don't remember them actually saying that they would pick me up at the airport. Maybe that wasn't part of the deal. I'll just get a taxi. So I pulled out my smarty phone here, right? Oh, thank you very much. Where the hell is Ed? That was easy. Oh, he knows I'm a Yank. There's even ice in it. Thank you. Taste the time. So I pulled out my little smarty phone here, and I went to the convention website to see what hotel I should go to. It wasn't on the website anywhere. The only thing it said was hotel. Sorry, rooms are sold out. That's a lovely piece of information, but where are they sold out from? So I spent about 10 minutes Googling and things like that. I finally found some cached page that had instructions for dealers to ship things that had an address. So I put the address in. It's like the whatever, Marriott, Blue Ball, something like that, and so I went to the little desk where the taxis are, and I said, I'd like to hire a taxi and take me out to Marriott, Blue Ball, whatever. And I got in the cab. As soon as we got out of the airport, immediately hit a traffic jam. This is America. It's the law. You have to have them every day. It's a fine. If traffic flows, you actually have to pay. But so I'm sitting in this cab, and it's going to take quite a while. And I thought I would entertain myself. I got a little smarty phone, and I was look at the tweeters you Quattro was tweeting, and oh, what a message. I'll look at that later. And about 20 minutes in, I noticed I had an email from a good friend of mine. In our family, he goes by the name Alkali. He's a big, tall, beanpole of a man. Likes to wear a top hat. He kind of looks like a beardless, fat Abraham Lincoln. But that's a very good description, isn't it? Email from Alkali saying, where are you? There are very, very frantic people here wanting to know. And I sent an email back saying, nobody came to pick me up. So I've gotten a cab, and I'm on my way. By the way, tell them that the hotel address is not on the website. And he emailed back a moment later, thinking I didn't have it. He emailed back saying it's the Marriott Blue Ball. And I started to answer back, You mean it's not the Hilton in Louisville? And I was gonna send it. But then I thought, nah, somebody might kill themselves before I get the chance to say it's a joke. It is a problem that I have. It's a birth defect. Most people are born with a little angel on this shoulder and a little devil on this shoulder. I was born with two devils. That's the problem. They're always like, do it. Yeah, do it. Yeah. Like this very weekend. And I showed up at Newcastle and there was no one to pick me up. Where's Ed? Now, Newcastle is not exactly a colossal airport, but there are two arrivals, one for UK arrivals, one for international arrivals. I could have sworn I told him I was coming in through London. I was going via Heathrow on British Airways. Somehow in his head that became I am coming in from Amsterdam on KLM. They rhyme, I know. Or one's a palindrome of the other, I don't know, but so I'm standing around, kind of. I'm going to ring up Ed because he gave me his phone number. International. And the voicemail picked up, and he was unavailable. He'd given me another number for Michael, so I don't like it. Oh, crap. And I got through to Michael, and Michael told me that, oh yes, James is there, he's at the other end of the airport. And I said, oh yes, I see him. And so James came over and picked me up, it was very, very nice. And as we were walking out to the car, my phone rang. And I saw that it was Ed. And I was going to answer it, and I said, no. Let's let him sweat a little. Which is very cruel of me. But he's just so cute when he gets all panicky, isn't he? He looks like a quarter-inch away from like running his head through the wall. Which, as I told a gentleman in the lift, would at the same time be tragic and comical. Wait, what other things have happened at conventions? There's some that you might have heard of. Okay, I think furry fandom stands out as having probably one of the worst evenings that has ever happened to any convention. Probably made the news over here. This is 2 years ago. Chicago, December.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody knows. Yeah. I mean, a lot of times these things happen and you look back on it and laugh. This one you can't. I was actually on stage with my friend and colleague, guy goes by the name To the Ranting Griffin. Gotta get him out.
Yeah.
Tell Ed. And we're up there, we're being, we are, comics and we're making people laugh. The door was open in the back, and I saw lots of red lights. And at one point I kind of leaned over to Joe and I said, I don't like the looks of this, let's wrap this up, okay? So we wrapped it up, and we walked out. It looked like every single piece of emergency equipment in the entire state of Illinois was out in that car park. And I was going to say to somebody what's going on, just then the alarm went off. Now typically in a hotel, when the alarm goes off, people kind of stand around and the staff looks up and then, well, that alarm went off and I saw hotel security saying, outside everybody, outside please, thank you very much, outside everybody. I thought, this is going to be interesting. And I was thinking, wow, this isn't happening in my con. This is great. As it turned out, some young piece of shit thought that he would be funny. He was going to make a bottle bomb. And one of these things, and I'm gonna toss it somewhere, and it's gonna go bang, and it'll scare people, and I'll be cool. Well, he went onto the internet, and he found a recipe for a bottle bomb that involved pool chemicals.
Going down.
Precisely. He made his little bottle bomb, tossed it in the stairwell, the emergency stairwell. It went off and generated a massive plume of chlorine gas, which was made very, very popular by the Germans about 100 years ago. Think about it. Now, that was perhaps bad enough, but when the alarm went off, a number of people went into the emergency stairwell to leave, right into the cloud. 19 of them wound up in hospital. It was quite awful. They kept us outside for quite some time. Now remember, this is the United States. The first thing people were thinking was, oh my God, terrorists, Al-Qaeda came in and tried to kill the furries. Really? Really? I mean, you're going to come in and kill furries when Congress is just sitting there waiting for somebody to do it. Don't put that on film, okay? Especially if that guy gets into office.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay, we'll for you to see the first president assassination in our lives for a while. That's savagery.
How old?
About as savage as his fake tan.
Guys, wig off.
He looks like the annoying orange, but with white hair.
He does, doesn't he?
Hey, Mexico!
Hey, Obama, hey, Obama, knife. I gotta stop, because I can be arrested by country for this kind of crap. We were talking about war stories, yes. Sorry, somehow we've gone on politics. Funny, that. What are the things that happen? Things that I've not had to say. My colleague at the European Furry Convention, a big German guy, he goes in our fandom by the name Cheetah. But he has the best name for a furry that I have ever seen. His actual name is Sven Take It Off. I'm not making it up. His name is Sven Take It Off. I don't know what his parents were thinking. Yeah, that's a cultural thing. Okay, we're gonna let that go. But he had to make a speech at his opening ceremonies that to date I have not had to make. He got up there and he said, on one final rule, please, if you go to the hotel swimming pool, do not wear a fursuit into the swimming pool, because the fur will come out of the fursuit and get into the filter and clog the motor, and I have to pay $3,000 to fix it. I looked at him and I said, did that happen? He said, yeah, fine. Yeah, so yes, don't wear the fursuits into the pool. And maybe a little closer to home. There was an anime convention in my adopted hometown of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania that actually got disinvited from the hotel. And the reason they got disinvited, as was explained to me, is a lot of folk like to, do some interesting colorations with the hair. Apparently, the particular hair dye that was popular at that convention in purple and blue and green washes out of hair but permanently stains porcelain. So all the bathtubs were Art Deco now. All had to be refinished in the hotel. I could see the hotel manager.
That reminds me of a very similar story. In the Homestuck fandom, someone tried to dye their skin grey with vodka and Sharpies. Stained the entire bathtub. I heard that on Tumblr like 3 years ago or something. I was like,
It's Tumblr.
If it's on Tumblr, it's got to be true. But indeed, costumers, we love the costumers, but you guys just don't. It's dumb.
there's certain boundaries.
If you think it's a good idea, it's
It's not.
probably a very bad idea.
Anybody ever heard of San Diego Comic-Con?
Yeah.
They actually have a rule named for Scott Shaw. Scott Shaw is an American comic artist. He has been a long-time attendee of Comic-Con. Some years ago, Scott is a very, he carries a lot of weight in the family. He decided that he was going to create his own supervillain character by stripping himself down to his shorts and covering his body with 15 pounds of chunky peanut butter. And somebody said, "What are you?" And he said, "I am the turd." Well, I don't know how to finish that story. Well, okay, so he was running around covered with this chunky peanut butter. And as, you know, San Diego, it's very warm there. And the peanut butter kind of started to, ooh, yes, it started to slough off. So he was leaving the trail. So he thought, maybe it's time to divest myself. So he went upstairs and hopped into the bath and washed washed all of it off, and then went about his way. 4 days later, the plumbing exploded and flooded 3 levels of the hotel. The Scott Shaw rule reads, "No costume may be comprised of edible items." I thought that was really a very nice way to put it.